collective basis.
All right, John, thank you very much indeed. John Campbell there, BBC Northern Ireland's economics and business editor. And let's also talk to our business correspondent, Alice Baxter. The figures here are mind-boggling, really. 13 billion euros in back taxes. But the EU Commissioner saying that is back taxes. That's not a fine, it's not a penalty, it's just what they owe.
Yeah, she was very keen, wasn't she, to diffuse any thoughts that this was in any way a fine, that American companies were being penalised. This is simply about a misallocation of profits inside Ireland. Because the implications for this, Ben, are enormous, hence her very conciliatory language. Could this perhaps transform the way that we see corporate tax avoidance policed across Europe? Could this also potentially see an end to this race to the bottom, if you like, of corporate tax being offered across Europe, different countries competing to see who can lower their corporate tax rates the most? But also at the root of this is America's concerns about American companies not paying their taxes on profits earned internationally back in the States. This is much more than a spat between Apple, Ireland and the EU. In the backdrop, of course, we have these stalled TTIP negotiations going on, this huge free trade deal between America and the EU. And this ruling today by the EU will go against what Jacques Lew, the Treasury Secretary, had specifically asked from Jean-Claude Juncker, the European Commission, only last week to reconsider this case. And also we heard from the Treasury in its white paper only last week accusing the European Commission of acting like a supranational tax authority, of overreaching its remit. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in this much wider context of US-EU trade relations.
An angry reaction, as we've heard from John Campbell there, from the Irish government, from the finance minister there, but also from Apple itself.
Yeah, indeed. We've had an Apple statement on this EU ruling saying the European Commission has launched an effort to rewrite Apple's history in Europe, ignore Ireland's tax laws and upend the international tax system in the process. It will have a profound and harmful effect on investment and job creation in Europe. Apple follows the laws and pays all of the taxes we owe, whether we operate. We will appeal, and we are confident the decision will be overturned. So we now know that both Apple and Ireland are planning to fight this ruling.
Alice, for the moment, thank you, but I know you'll have more on this in the business news a bit later on in this hour. Thank you, Alice Baxter there.